எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். நான் ஒரு தமிழர், இந்தியன், இந்த மணிமகன் of this soil. So I want to first of all thank Mr. Dr. Karthik, John, உங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் ரொம்ப thanks for coming today. Because August 30th வந்து it's not your day, it's the day of Indian people, நம்ம Tamil people, it's the day of the invention of email. அந்த பிக்சர் இருக்குல்ல அந்த லெஃப்ட் சைடில், அது வந்து 14-year-old பாய், 14 வருஷம் பாய். அவங்க வந்து உங்க சன், he's the son of India, is the son of தமிழ்நாடு. அதான் டாக்டர் கார்த்திக் சொல்றாங்க, அந்த நீங்க எல்லாம் பிரஸ்ல இருக்கீங்களா, நீங்க வந்து ஒரு நோபல் டியூட்டி உங்களுக்கு வந்து அந்த பிக்சர் வந்து எல்லாருக்கும் தெரியணும். Every boy, every child, every family should know that it was an Indian who invented email. It was an Indian who invented email in 1978. எதுக்கு இது இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் தெரியுமா? பிகாஸ் நம்ம ஃபார் 1657 வந்து பிரிட்டிஷ் வந்தாங்க. ரெண்டு இது பிரிட்டிஷ் பண்ணாங்க. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து they stole, எல்லாரும் எடுத்தாங்க, நம்ம ஜாமானெல்லாம் எடுத்தாங்க பிரிட்டனுக்கு, யூரோப்புக்கு. செகண்ட் இது வந்து எல்லாரையும் பிரெயின் வாஷ் பண்ணாங்க. அந்த பிரெயின் வாஷ் என்ன தெரியுமா? அவங்க வந்து பிரெயின் வாஷ் பண்ணாங்க. நம்ம வந்து கிளர்க்ஸ் இருக்கலாம், ஒர்க்கர்ஸ் இருக்கலாம், சாஃப்ட்வேர் இன்ஜினியர்ஸ் இருக்கலாம், இன்ஃபேக்ட் சிஇஓஸும் இருக்கலாம். புரியுதா? You can be CEO of Microsoft, you can be CEO of Google, you can be CEO of Pepsi, but you cannot be an innovator. அது வந்து ஸ்டீவ் ஜாப்ஸ், ஐசக் நியூட்டன், மோட்சார்ட், அது வந்து வெள்ளக்காரங்களுக்கு தான். இந்த பிரெயின் வாஷிங் வந்து வெரி வெரி டீப். எல்லாரும் புரியுதா? இந்த பிரெயின் வாஷிங் வந்து நம்ம வந்து உடைக்கணும். எதுக்கு உடைக்கணும் தெரியுமா? பிகாஸ் until நம்ம அந்த பிரேக் பண்ண, until we break that, நம்ம இனோவேட் பண்ண முடியாது, நம்ம கிட்ஸை எஜுகேட் பண்ண முடியாது. பிகாஸ் அந்த பிரெயின் வாஷிங் ரிமூவ் பண்ணனா, that is the first step. நம்ம வந்து நம்ம ஓன் டிக்னிட்டியை ரெக்கக்னைஸ் பண்றோம். You see, British when they came 1657ல, அந்த 8th century ஹிஸ்டரி பார்த்தானா, சங்கராச்சாரியா எல்லாரும் கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கீங்களா? சங்கராச்சாரியா வந்து பக்தி மூவ்மெண்ட் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணாரு 8th century இந்தியால. அவர் ஒரு கீ கொஸ்டின் கேட்டாரு. இப்ப ஹெவன் தமிழ் எப்படி சொல்றீங்க? சொர்க்கம்ல இருந்து ஈக்குவாலிட்டி இருந்துச்சுன்னா எதுக்கு எர்த்ல ஈக்குவாலிட்டி இல்ல? வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் கொஸ்டின், ரைட்? இஃப் தேர் இஸ் equality on earth, I mean in heaven, why is there no equality on earth? That was the basic beginning of the Bhakti movement. So by Ramanujam, there were a great many in the Bhaktas. By the 15th, 16th century, intercaste marriages irundhuchu. Rise of low caste people, artisans, ivanga mela vandittu irundanga. So in 1657 when the British came, avanga enna pannanga theriyuma? Instead of imposing British law, அவங்க pre-8th century caste law எடுத்தாங்க, அதை எடுத்து impose பண்ணாங்க. So நல்ல caste system திருப்பி போட்டாங்க உள்ள. You understand? Yeah. They reimposed the caste system. Caste system was breaking down. Intercaste marriages எல்லாம் இருந்துட்டு இருந்துங்க 13th, 14th, 15th century. So நம்ம system that we have today is not even our system. It is a system that was reimposed by the British, taking India back for 700, 800 years. எதுக்கு caste system போட்டாங்க தெரியுமா? நீ you are a cobbler, you should do this, you should do this. புத்திசாலி எல்லாம் அவங்க தான். So if I asked you who are some great innovators, கேட்டானா நீங்க வந்து நம்பர் 1 சொல்லுங்க, ஐசக் நியூட்டன், ஐன்ஸ்டைன், இப்படிதான் நேம் வரும், ரைட்? ஸ்டீவ் ஜாப்ஸ், பில் கேட்ஸ். பட் சிவா யோதுரை, ஜேசி போஸ், ஆரியபத்த வரார்ல. இது எதுக்கு? இது வந்து deliberate brain washing பண்ணாங்க. deliberate brain washing. And நம்ம ஆளுகளும் we followed. Okay? But 2015, today is what, August 24th? Today is the day we change that. சரியா? Today we changed on the brainwashing by recognizing that 14-year-old Tamil boy invented email. It's a fact. It's black and white. அது எப்படி ஆச்சு? I was born 1963 Bombayல. When I grew up in Bombay, அப்பமே நான் caste system பார்த்தேன். நான் ஒரு பிராமன் ஃப்ரெண்ட் இருந்தான், அவன் வீட்டுக்கு போனேன். அவங்க அம்மா வந்து என்ன வெளியில வச்சு சின்ன கப்ல இன்னொரு கப்ல தண்ணி கொடுத்தாங்க. அப்பமே நான் நினைச்சேன், what is this? அது என்ன ரொம்ப எஃபெக்ட் ஆச்சு. அது வந்து பாம்பேல. பட் நான் வந்து மோகூர்ல இருந்து க்ரோ பண்ணேன், ராஜபாளையம். அங்க வந்து எங்க பாட்டியம்மா வந்து ஒரு சித்தர். அவங்க வந்து 16 hours அவங்க வந்து ஃபார்மரா ஒர்க் பண்ணுவாங்க. ஃபார்மர் எப்படி சொல்லுங்க தமிழ்? விவசாய ஒர்க் பண்ணுவாங்க. பட் வீக்கெண்ட்ஸ்ல வந்து அவங்க டோர் ஸ்டெப்ல ஒரு 30-40 பீப்புள் வருவாங்க. அவங்க பார்த்து சித்தர் நம்ம சமுத்திரிக்க லட்சுமி மூஞ்சியை பார்த்து அவங்க மெடிசன் கொடுப்பாங்க. யாருக்கும் சார்ஜ் பண்ண மாட்டாங்க, எல்லாரையும் ஹெல்ப் பண்ணுவாங்க, கியூர் பண்ணுவாங்க. ஸோ நான் இதை பார்த்தேன், எனக்கே கியூரியஸ், எப்படி இந்த ஒரு உமன் without any education நம்ம இந்தியன் மெடிக்கல் சிஸ்டம் யூஸ் பண்ணி is she able to heal people. So அதான் எனக்கு ரெண்டு மோட்டிவேஷன். ஈவன் ஒரு at 6 years old, why is there injustice in the world? எதுக்கு caste system இருக்கு? And how is this woman able to heal people? Health and freedom. அதான் என் மோட்டிவேஷன். So 1970ல on my 7th birthday, December 2nd, 1963, அப்பா நம்ம left India for US. எங்க அப்பா நம்ம had very good jobs here, தெரியுமா? அப்பா was a right hand man to Gopala Singhania. Amma was a mathematician, head of the maths department at Don Bosco. 99% of you would probably stay here. எதுக்கு வந்து US போறீங்கன்னு நினைப்பீங்க. But அப்பா நம்ம left. எதுக்கு தெரியுமா? They wanted something more, very ambitious. They wanted something more for myself and my akka, Umaka. So அதான் என் motivation. அப்பா நம்ம left, so I have to do even better. So 1970 we landed in the US. We landed in Paterson, New Jersey. Anyone know Paterson? கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கீங்களா? Paterson is the poorest city in the United States. All black people. See, நம்ம வந்து இந்தியால we don't segregate people. You see rich and poor all together. US வந்து a very segregation country. Poor இங்க ஒரு சிட்டில வைப்பாங்க, wealthy people இங்க வைக்காம வெள்ளக்காரங்க இங்க இருப்பாங்க, கருப்புங்க இங்க இருப்பாங்க. அப்படிதான் இருக்கு. Very segregated. So Paterson was a very poor city, poorest city in the US. அங்கதான் அம்மா அப்பா வந்தாங்க because that's what they could afford. But in 7 years, by 1978, 77, 78, Amma we moved 4 times. Each time we moved to the better city. Why did they move? எதுக்கு தெரியுமா? And the public education system was better in the wealthier school systems. So by 1977, we were living in a different town, predominantly Jewish town called Livingston, New Jersey. So அப்பதான் I was studying very hard. I finished all the mathematics courses. Calculus ஒரு 9th grade முடிச்சிட்டேன். Normally second year college course. So in high school didn't have any other courses to give me. Now I was thinking of dropping out. Amma and Appa romba, they got very sad. So 1978, early 78, I was accepted. 40 students select பண்ணாங்க New York University ல. அந்த காலத்துல ஒரு professor இருந்தார். அவர் நினைச்சாரு ஒரு 50 years from now we'll need software engineers, programmers. So 40 students select பண்ணாங்க out of the entire United States to go to university, New York University, one of the best schools in the United States, and the 40 students will learn software programming. So I was one of the ones selected, the only Indian, the only Tamilian. The reason I was selected was because I remembered in a party ma. I worked hard. This was not just chumma luck. I worked very hard with the inspiration of all of you. India is what inspired me to work hard. So I graduated top of the class out of those 40 kids. And then at the Murchapura, I learned 7 programming languages. If you look in this diagram here, this is actually the Fortran programming language. One of the languages I learned. இப்போ வந்து C, Java எல்லாம் படிக்கிறீங்களா? அந்த காலத்துல வந்து Fortran படிச்சேன். But I also studied for 6 other programming languages. So at the Murchapura, I wanted to drop out of school because school was boring for me. But Amma introduced me to ஒரு guru, ஒரு mentor. அவர் பேர் வந்து Dr. Les Michelson. He worked in a small medical college in Newark, New Jersey. Newark was also one of the poorest cities in the United States. It's not Harvard, it's not MIT, it's not Stanford, it's Yale. It's again one of the poorest cities in the United States. Newark, not New York, Newark, N-E-W-A-R-K, Newark, New Jersey. So in Newark, New Jersey, and the Dr. Michelson looked at me and he immediately offered me a job. And the college, remember, I was still interested in medicine. This was a medical college. Okay? And the medical college, they had 3 campuses. Newark campus, New Brunswick campus, and Piscataway, 3 campuses. And the college, Michelson had put together a network, computer network, not the internet. Sorry, our own wide area network connecting those 3 colleges. And so I thought, எனக்கு வந்து medical research job கொடுக்க போறாருன்னு. Okay? But Michelson, he asked me to do something first. இன்னொரு challenge கொடுத்தாரு. See, அந்த காலத்துல இப்போ ஒரு institution போனோம்னா, any organization போனோம்னா, தனி institution ஏதாவது காலேஜ் வந்து அங்க ஒரு communication system இருக்கும். அந்த communication system அந்த every officeல அந்த காலத்துல இந்த University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey அதான் பேர் இந்த காலேஜுக்கு every officeல ஒரு 1000 offices இருந்துச்சு இந்த 3 campusல every officeல ஒரு desk ஒரு secretary இருப்பாங்க. சரி, அந்த காலத்துல வந்து women அவங்க தான் secretary. 3 jobs womenக்கு அந்த காலத்துல secretary, தெரியுமா, teacher or nurse, அவ்வளவுதான். இப்போ வந்து ஒரு woman can be a doctor, she can be a computer scientist எல்லாம், பட் அந்த காலத்துல only 3 jobs ஒரு womanக்கு. ஸோ இந்த காலேஜ்ல வந்து ஒரு woman இருப்பா, each office ஒரு boss இருப்பாங்க, அவங்க பாஸுக்கு ஒரு செக்ரட்டரி இருப்பாங்க. அந்த செக்ரட்டரி had a desktop. அந்த டெஸ்க்டாப்ல டைப்ரைட்டர் இருக்கும். சரி, ஒரு டைப்ரைட்டர் இருக்கும். எல்லாரும் டைப்ரைட்டர் தெரியுமா? லெஃப்ட் அடுத்த சைடு டெஸ்க்டாப் ஒரு இன்பாக்ஸ்னு ஒரு பாக்ஸ் இருக்கும். INBOX இன்பாக்ஸ், ஆக்சுவல் மெட்டல் பாக்ஸ். இன்னொரு பாக்ஸ் இருக்கும் அவுட் பாக்ஸ். இங்க ஒரு இன்னொரு தேர்ட் பாக்ஸ் இருக்கும் கால் டிராஃப்ட்ஸ், DRAFTS. இதான் ஆக்சுவல் பாக்ஸஸ். அவ டெஸ்க்டாப்ல ஒரு அட்ரஸ் புக் இருக்கும், பின்னாடி வந்து ஃபைல் ஃபோல்டர்ஸ் இருக்கும். புரியுதா? சவுண்ட் சிமிலர்? ஓகே. அவங்க டேபிள்ல பேப்பர் இருக்கும், பாண்ட் பேப்பர், ஒயிட் பாண்ட் பேப்பர். அந்த காலத்துல அவங்க ஒரு மெமோ அடிப்பாங்க டைப்ரைட்டர்ல போட்டு, டு, ஃப்ரம், சப்ஜெக்ட், ஒரு பாடி, அதை டைப் பண்ணிட்டு ஒரு அட்டாச்மெண்ட் போடுவாங்க, பேப்பர் கிளிப் எடுத்து அட்டாச்மெண்ட் போடுவாங்க. ஓகே, இதான் வந்து டெஸ்க்டாப், லிட்டரலி த டெஸ்க்டாப். அவங்க வந்து அந்த மெமோ அடிச்சு ஒரு இன்டர் ஆஃபீஸ் மெயில் ஆன்வெலப்ல போடுவாங்க, டை அப் பண்ணி either ஒரு ஆள்கிட்ட கொடுப்பாங்க ஆர் ஒரு pneumatic tubes இருக்கும். அந்த டியூப்ஸ்ல போட்டு it'll go from one office to another. இது வந்து இன்டர் ஆஃபீஸ் மெயில் சிஸ்டம். இப்படிதான் பிரசிடென்ட், பிரைம் மினிஸ்டர், பிசினஸ்மேன், everyone use this system to transport mail. So மைக்கேல்சன் வந்து சேலஞ்ச் கொடுத்தாரு. He said, Shiva, உனக்கு ஒரு பெரிய சேலஞ்ச் கொடுக்க பாரு, இந்த whole system convert it to the electronic form. Convert inter-office mail system. அந்த keyword வந்து system. சரியா? சும்மா எக்ஸ்சேஞ்ச் டெலிகிராஃப் மாதிரி இல்லை, இந்த whole system ஒரு 100 features இருந்துச்சு. Inbound, outbound, inbox, all the features. Registered mail, security, எல்லாம். So அதான் நான் பண்ணேன். 14 years old. 14-year-old Tamil Indian boy did this. Now you have to remember, I was in India, I was in US only 7 years. 7 years before that I was in India. I was still an Indian citizen. So email was created by an Indian citizen. So when I created email, all the features panna, 50,000 lines of Fortran code. I worked day and night. In a school வந்து, so appa namma were very supportive. Second, I had a good guru. But அந்த காலத்துல இந்த பப்ளிக் ஸ்கூல் சிஸ்டம் ஒரு டீச்சர் இருந்தாங்க, அவங்க வந்து சண்டை போட்டு whole administration சண்டை போட்டு they changed the rules. Because remember, now that I was supposed to be in school. School system rules are changed பண்ணிட்டு, so I could take off from the middle of school, travel 40 miles and work. I was a full-time worker at 14. Michelson had one rule, and the rule வந்து, I will let you work here, but நீ வந்து professional இருக்கணும். I will treat you as the same. So the people in the office வந்து were people who were 25, 30, 40 years older than me. புரியுதா? But I was treated as an equal. I was not treated less. No caste system there. Number one, I had to produce and I had to do good work. Right? So I did that. I built this system. I was a software engineer. I was a customer service person. I had to train people in the Mari. I would run seminars at the age of 14, 15, training people. So that was the inter-office mail system in electronic format. Now I called the system email.
அப்புறம் வந்து நிறைய ட்ரீ கட்டிங்ஸ் குறைஞ்சு, நம்ம சொன்ன மாதிரி ஹேண்டில் யூஸ் பண்ணுறது குறைஞ்சது, நிறைய நெட்டு யூஸ் பண்ணுறது குறைஞ்சது. ஏன்னா மரம் வெட்டுறோம் அப்படின்னு சொன்னால் கூடாதுன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அதே பேப்பர் வேணும், எஜுகேஷனுக்கு வெட்டணும்னா பரவாயில்ல வெட்டிக்கோன்னு சொல்கிற ஒரு மைண்ட் செட்டில் தான் மக்கள் வேர்ல்டு இருந்தது. ஆஃப்டர் இன்வென்டிங் இமெயில் ஹார்ட் காப்பிங்கிற விஷயமே வேணாம், அது ஒரு தேவையில்லாத விஷயம் ஆகிப்போச்சு. ஸோ ஆஃப்டர் இன்வென்டிங் இமெயில் எந்த அளவுக்கு இந்த ஃபீஸ் கட்டிங் குறைஞ்சிருக்கு, யூசேஜ் ஆஃப் லெட் காரியம் வந்து அசஸ் டு ஹெல்த் ஆக்சுவலி அது பிக்மெண்ட்ஸ் யூஸ் பண்ணுறது எந்த அளவுக்கு குறைஞ்சிருக்கு, இதை பற்றி தான் உங்கள்கிட்ட ஐடியாஸ்.
நல்ல கொஸ்டின். அவர் நல்ல காமெடி எல்லாருக்கும் கேட்டிங்களா? அவர் பாயிண்ட் வந்து பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் தி இன்வென்ஷன் ஆஃப் இமெயில் ஐ திங்க் நவ் 20,000 crore email per day. 20,000 crore email per day. So if we put that, evla paper, evla ink, I haven't done the calculation, we should do that. I think I told Hari, one of our, Hari enga irukkaru, I told Hari we'll figure that calculation out. We'll go from 1978 to today, how many paper was saved, how much ink was saved, how much lead was saved, how much toxicity was saved.
Pigments and all.
And pigments. But so in many ways, the invention of email is an eco-friendly thing.
Yes.
And it was done by an Indian, but Indians have always been eco-friendly. History of all Indian inventions was always eco-friendly. This is a very important point you're bringing up.
Thank you.
Good question. So our question கேக்குறாரு எந்த வந்து future of email. So remember, it's an excellent question. First of all, what is email? எல்லாரும் நினைச்சாங்க when chat came out, email would die. When social media came out, email would die, right? So to answer that question, we should clearly understand what is email. Remember, email came from the inter-office mail system. Between 1978 to 1993, most of email, you didn't need the internet. It was done in local area networks, office lab. It is basically a business application. So after 1993, when the web came, then email moved from the office to becoming a personal application. And appada confusion aache. Because now you had three mediums running: text messaging, email, and then you started seeing social media around 2000. So everyone, starting 1993, people say, oh, email is going to die. Texting will replace email. When social media came, Mark Zuckerberg made a very stupid statement. He said email is dead. Because he himself doesn't understand the origin of email. You see, email comes from the inter-office mail system. It's a business application. Now, if you look very carefully, Patana, texting is the short messages, short messaging. Texting goes to the sticky notes, chinna note sticky note. That is equivalent of texting. But if you go even before, thousands of years ago, people did smoke signals, drum beating. So there's this one lineage of short messaging. Shariya? Now you look at another lineage, so you look at social media, adu on the Facebook post, blog posts, adu on the community messaging. So if I put a Facebook post, everyone sees it. But that is no different than the bulletin board. School alla or bulletin board irukula. But even if you go back 2,000 years ago, or 5,000 or 10,000 years ago, people did cave paintings. Cave la vandu or whole village vandu paint பண்ணுவாங்க. அது வந்து community messaging. So cave paintings, bulletin boards, etc. Now email lineage வந்து it's for business. So அந்த காலத்துல papyrusல வந்து எழுதுவாங்க commerce. That became the letter. The letter became the memo became email. So the first thing is, as long as there is business, email will be there. So anyone who tells you email is dead doesn't know what they're talking about. Okay, that's the first. So the future of email is going to be here for a long time. 4.2 billion accounts and growing. So what is the future? So if you realize email came from that inter-office mail system, in the old days the boss would be here and he would dictate to the secretary. Secretary would type everything up. Email vandappo, we all became secretaries. Right? There's no more boss. 35% of CEOs use email, are on email. 35% of their time, 35% of their time is spent on email. So we've all become secretaries. So the future of email, in my belief, is we're going to start adding artificial intelligence. So the email system is going to become a secretary. You will dictate to it, right? It will do sorting, because in the old Kalatha, the secretary would sort the inbox, she would throw out the junk trash. So we're going to see more intelligent features in email system. So we can go back to the future. You see what I'm saying? We'll go back to the future. So now you can do more, because in the old days, boss வந்து edit தான் பண்ணுவாரு, dictate பண்ணுவாரு, drafts போடுறோன்னு edit பண்ணுவாரு, திருப்பி வைப்பாரு, everything else got automated by the secretary, quote unquote automated. So one future is we're going to see more artificial intelligence. The other thing will happen is people are going to realize there are these three modes of communication. You'll sometimes use chat, that is for informal communication. You'll use social media for community communication. And you'll use email for business. Okay? So in the realization is also going to happen and people will work together. So Facebook tried to do chat and social media. They tried to add email but they failed. But Google Plus is all three, if you notice. You can do email, you can do chat, and you can also do the Google Circles. So I hope on the question I answered properly.
Sir,
Yeah, one question, yeah.
Any developments in future? Any extra things?
With email?
Yes.
Yeah, so so the biggest thing with email right now is the question of free email, okay? In 1997, about 2 years ago, I did a consulting project for the US Postal Service. If you remember 2011, the Postal Service is going bankrupt. So one of the big things concerning this issue is the concept of security and privacy. You see, we all sign up for Gmail, Hotmail, free email. And the free email, we freedom கொடுத்துட்டோம். Because அவங்க privacy statement closer read பண்ணனா, they own your email. Okay? So one of my suggestions to the Postal Service, I wrote a report, in fact they showed them how the Postal Service can actually make money. See, Postal Service it was designed, at least in the US and in fact here, to make sure if I sent you a letter, or I sent you a letter, or you sent him a letter, that if anyone stopped that letter, it's a criminal violation. 20 years, in the US, 20 years in prison. Okay, no one can open someone's letter in the middle. Confidentiality. But if I send you a Hotmail email, Microsoft actually is still their email. So one of my views is that the postal services should actually offer an email service. Maybe they can charge 50 rupees, 100 rupees, $50 a year. You'll pay for it because that is protected now by democratic laws.
It's in privacy.
Privacy. Because if I send you an email and let's say Hotmail opens it, it's their email. But if someone opens it, if it's a government service email, there are all of these democratic laws that will protect us. So that's one of the things things need to be done. Because you think about what happened in Egypt. Remember in Egypt when the revolution was breaking, the students were protesting, it was growing. Suddenly Mubarak called up Vodafone and they shut down everything. Okay? They cannot do that with the Postal Service because the democratic laws support the Postal Service. So we're in a very, very interesting situation with email around privacy, in my opinion. Privacy, we don't really have any privacy. Edward Snowden has shown that we are all basically subject to private companies right now. So it's a very dangerous world in terms of privacy. Yeah.
ஒருவேளை நீங்க அமெரிக்காவுல இருந்ததனால இந்த இமெயில் சாதனை செய்ய முடியுது. நீங்க இந்தியாவுல இருந்தா அதே சாதனை நிகழ்த்திருப்பீங்களா?
It's a very interesting question, but it's a wrong question. Is it, Karima? It was India which inspired me to create email. You see what I'm saying? It's a very difficult question because if I was not in India, had not gone to Rajapalayam, had not seen my parents work hard, maybe I would have been fat, dumb and happy here. Maybe I would have just stayed in Bombay, my parents were making money, maybe I wouldn't have done anything. That's சொல்ல முடியாது, right? I mean, India has created people. India did create J.C. Bose, India has created Ramanujan, that was done here. So we have to stop asking in the many questions, would you have done that here, Adlan? America is actually, 30% of NASA is Indians. What percent of Microsoft is Indians? We are always doing the innovation. In the many questions we have to stop this, don't take it wrong way, right? நம்மள brainwash பண்ணிருக்காங்க. நம்ம wrong questions கேட்டுட்டு இருக்கோம். நம்ம தான் inventors, நம்ம தான் innovators. You follow what I'm saying? The issue is how do we get back to doing what we were doing and getting credit for it? That is the issue. Okay, the issue we should be asking is everyone should go back and figure out how we're going to go change the history books to tell the truth. Because on the truth that we'll realize we've always been innovators. British used to steal shipbuilding blueprints from India up to 1800s, okay? Think about that.
Sir,
Yes?
right now we are using a Gmail, Hotmail and a domain name, etc. You start up in a starting stage, right? Starting stage, what will be using? Gmail or email? நீங்க start இப்போ Gmail யூஸ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம். யார் யூஸ் பண்றோம்? domain name யூஸ் பண்றோம். ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது Gmail ல இருந்துச்சா?
Oh, you mean now start panuruma? Okay, that's a good question. You see, first of all, you don't need the internet for email. Okay? So when I came out, if you go to Wikipedia, they started destroying my pages, doing all this stuff, saying you need the internet. You don't need the internet. I could set up 10 computers right now, connect what's called a local area network, and put an email program on it. You don't need a domain. We used to run this on a local area network. It was only when the web came, right, starting in 1993, that they put it different. They had the whole concept of domain name service. That is relatively new, 1993. Before 1993, 1978 to 1993, you'll see after I invented email in 82, then you had Eudora, you had Lotus Notes. These were all in the office environment. So you don't need the .com, .this to run email, okay? That is a parallel situation. So don't confuse the need for email with the need for having the web. Okay, two different systems. After 93, when the web came, people put a user interface on the web, like Hotmail, Yahoo, and that became web-based mail. But you don't need the web to run, in fact, you don't need the internet for email. Is that clear?
Sir, what is the reason to bring up this issue now, sir? You have invented email on 1978. So you have bringing this issue on 2015. Any reason for that, sir?
Why do you think?
That's why I'm asking you, sir.
Right, so the issue is, I didn't even seek fame or fortune for this. Remember, in 2012, so just to be clear, maybe you didn't follow what I was saying. So in 2011, my mother was dying of pulmonary. 2012, it went into the Smithsonian, 20 other innovations. After 2012, when it went into the Smithsonian, people started calling me all sorts of names. This curry-stained Indian should be beaten, how dare he say invented email. That's when it became an issue. Do you follow? We didn't create an issue. The reason we're having this discussion today is this shouldn't be a big issue, right? Had I been trained to have a good PR team, to do promotion back in 82, but remember, I was only a 15-year-old kid. You follow me? What 14-year or 15-year-old kid knows how to go get a lawyer, PR, etc., okay? But I went on to do other things. It was only in 2012 when it went into the Smithsonian, then after it was a day of celebration, then all these people started denying this. That's when it became an issue, and that's why we are here today discussing this. Did I answer your question? Okay? But it's an important question now that we do need to discuss. I mean, we're discussing this 35 years later, but we also have not discussed what happened in 1657 or 1947. Okay? What's that? This is the right time to discuss. It's an interesting time to discuss this because you do have, we can argue, I don't care about political parties, but you do have a prime minister who's brought up the concept of national identity. He's probably the first prime minister to push forward the concept of I'm an Indian. Made in India, make in India. Well, this is made in India. This is Indian made. Right? So I would argue this is a perfect time. I do believe there's a God, and I believe God moves things in very interesting ways. So I believe this is a perfect time to bring this issue up.
நீங்க வந்து இன்டர்னல் ஆபீஸ்ல வந்து நிறைய சிஸ்டம் நெட்வொர்க் பண்ணி அதுக்குள்ள நீங்க இமெயில் அனுப்பிட்டு இருந்தீங்க.
ஆமா.
சோ இப்போ வந்து இமெயில்ஸ் வந்து இன்டர்நெட் இருந்தா தான் ஒர்க் பண்ண முடியுது இப்போ.
You don't need, that's not true. There are another question. He said, when I built the inter-office mail system, it was on a local wide area network. Today we need the internet. That's actually not true. There are government systems, they run on what are called private networks. Okay, for security. In fact, some people don't want to be on the internet because it can be hacked. So they'll have communication systems, what are called private networks.
My question is, the smartphones use பண்ணிட்டு நம்ம சேட்டலைட் மூலம் மெயில் கம்யூனிகேட் பண்ண முடியுமா வித்தவுட் எனி பிளாட்ஃபார்ம்ஸ் யாஹூ ஜிமெயில் அந்த மாதிரி இல்லாமல் யூசிங் த ஸ்மார்ட் ஃபோன் த்ரூ சேட்டலைட் இந்த ப்ரைவேட் மெயில்ஸ் நம்ம அனுப்ப முடியுமா அப்படின்னு கேட்குறேன்.
Yes, our question was, can you send email to your phone to someone else using satellite without using the internet?
Yeah.
Definitely. See, what is a network? A network is a set of machines which are communicating among each other. The internet was really developed in case there was a nuclear bomb. So you could have this communication system among multiple points, and TCP/IP really came much after I invented email. SMTP came in 1985 really. You see, I was not using Anga protocol a lot. So you don't need, email is not dependent on those protocols. So they have revised history to say you need those protocols, but it's not true. Do you understand? Okay.
Mr. Shiva, one question here.
What over here?
Yeah.
Why did you live in India?
Why don't I?
Yes, sir. You are living in US.
Yeah, well, remember when I was 7 years old, I didn't have a choice. But I do live in India. You know, I've been here for. I'll probably go back and forth now more regularly. But
You have to give some awareness or other things.
Right. No, I think you're bringing up a good point. I think the question is, do I want to stay? So timing is wonderful right now for me. You know, I'm 51 years old now. So I am doing what I want, what that 6-year-old boy wanted to do. Remember, I had an interest in discussing the issues of justice and innovation. That's why I'm here. And the other interest is in medicine. We have created 2 companies now, one called Systems Health. One of the things I forgot to tell you was when I came back to India in 2007 on a Fulbright, I discovered the foundational theory of Ayurveda and Siddha. We just published it in a major paper. We have shown scientifically that Ayurveda and Siddha are based on systems theory. Systems theory is a Western science that came out in 1930. So when you think about Vata, Pitta, Kapha, how many people know Ayurveda or Siddha? I know you know. You're an Ayurvedic doctorate. But it's amazing how few of you know even your own medicine system. But the foundation of Ayurveda and Siddha is based on the concept of I can look at you and I can diagnose your body based on Vata, Pitta and Kapha. But if you ask most Ayurvedic doctors, they don't even know what Vata, Pitta, Kapha are. So in the recent discovery I made, I found that Vata, Pitta and Kapha are directly related to transport, conversion and storage. These 3 terms are the foundation of Western systems theory. So what I've shown is number rishis and yogis were not simply religious people. They were actually system scientists. They saw the body as an engineering system. So we published this paper in an engineering systems journal. Okay, so that's called Systems Health. We made it into an online educational program, and the tool we give away for free. And Cytosolve now is a technology for creating new medicines like a Siddha did, but using the computer. So, yeah, so you're probably going to see more of me in India on a regular basis. But it's a very good thought. I do want to do a certain part of my time in inspiring young people about innovation. So I'm very committed to that.
அப்துல் கலாம்
One more, how many more questions?
Question here.
Aman, சொல்லுங்க.
Mr. Shiva, as at the moment, an individual has the entitlement to have more than one email ID, like for example, one Gmail, one Hotmail, one Yahoo Mail. In the future, do you foresee any restriction being imposed by virtue of the simple fact that could be a problem of traffic crossing?
Any problem of what?
Too many lines, no, you said so many billions of lines are there, accounts are there.
Aman.
So, if one individual is having one Gmail ID, one Hotmail ID, on Hotmail as well as on Yahoo, is there going to be, what's your take on that? Will there be any restriction in the future?
That's a good question. So the question is there going to be any restrictions on people having multiple email IDs? Well, it's an interesting question because people have multiple phones, some people. People have multiple SIM cards today. Some people have a business email address and they'll have a personal email address, right? Some people have a personal email address, business email address, and some people may have one address for one person they want to communicate with and another person they want to communicate with. And you can take that to whatever way you want to mean that. But The point is, and some people may have an email address they just use for e-commerce transactions. And some people have email addresses they just use to receive junk mail. So I don't know if there's going to be restrictions, but what is happening is people are actually having multiple email addresses, and they'll have one email address that these other addresses can forward to or map to, but the other people won't know about this address. In some sense, it's having a private email address which maps to multiple individual addresses that they use for different things. So your people at your employment may know one address, your friends may know another address, and your very close friends may have something else. The friends of mine who are celebrities, for example, they will have very different email addresses for security reasons. So I think the reality is people will have different email addresses and they'll map them to one address. Now there is some potential way that you could keep one email address and segregate the folders into how you receive email, but that technology hasn't evolved that well yet.
Can we all have your email address?
Yeah, so my email address, I'll give it to you since everyone's here. It's vashiva@vashiva.com. V is in Victor, A, Shiva, @vashiva.com. Normally I bring a whole PowerPoint, but we didn't want to do that this time. vashiva@vashiva.com.
So billions of email IDs are there. Could you share the first email ID you used?
Yeah, the email ID we used at that time was just shiva.umdnj. See, we don't need the @ logo. @ logo is, you can use any symbol. We used a dot. So shiva.umdnj. U meaning University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. In fact, we called each location, instead of a domain, we called it a zip node. Like zip code, ZIPNODE. It was called nodes on a network. One more question? Excuse me? In a party, what's my idea? Yeah, so I think one question the party when this Siddhar medicine pannanga, what is my idea to promote that? So we have some of the people in my company here. What we're doing now is, so first of all, the problem with Nama Siddha and Ayurveda was we have not translated them. They're written in 100,000 palm leaves. People pass it on Gurukul model, right? I pass it to you, you pass it to etc. So what we're doing is, we are starting to look at the different Siddha and Ayurvedic medicine formulations. With our technology Cytosolve, நாங்க வந்து இந்த different molecular pathways model பண்ணோம் computerல. So for example, we're modeling cancer. We're modeling mathematically Alzheimer's. We're modeling diabetes. Okay? And using on the models, we can look at the Siddha Vaidyams, because the Siddha Vaidyams are not one medicine, combination. But நம்ம curry powder இருக்குல்ல, curry powder is not one, it's not haldi or manjal, it's haldi, manjal, pepper. It's a combination. The curry is actually a medicine. In fact, curry, it turns out Indians have 1/3 less liver cancer than all of Asia. Asia meaning China, India, because we consume so much curry, particularly in manjal, in the pepper. But manjal chumma edutana, it doesn't absorb. So that is why pepper add பண்றாங்க. Pepper is it increases bioavailability of the manjal. So enga party and the Siddhas learned how to do the mixing. So what we're doing now is we're modeling different diseases. We're starting to catalog the different Siddha Vaidyam, and then we want to see which one works, what is the right combination. We're basically going to validate it in technology use பண்ணி. At the Pannapam, we want to then offer it to people, or at least write publications validating. Number one is to show Nama Siddha Vaidyam had tremendous science to it. See, this is on the part of that, for my party, the goal is, one thing is to validate this, but also to make sure, ungalukkellam theriyum, that these were science that people did, that when Western medicine says, oh, idella chuma heavy metals irukku, nama vandu proper nama own brain use pannanum. Yedhukku avanga adha appadi solranga? Because avanga model vandu or medicine vandu $1,000 ku vikkanum. Suppose you could, முருங்காய் இருக்குல்ல, எல்லாருக்கும் தெரியும் முருங்காய், weeks ago, a new research paper came out. Moringai, if you put it in pancreatic cancer cells, 97% it kills the pancreatic cancer cells. Moringai. Now, moringai is what? 2 paisa? 1 paisa? Anyone it grows. You see, Western world வந்து அவங்க என்ன பண்றாங்க தெரியுமா, ஒரு பாடி எடுத்துட்டு டிவைட் பண்றாங்க, இந்த disease அந்த disease. But நம்ம ஆயுர்வேத சித்தால வந்து there is one disease, one solution. Everything is one disease, diet and lifestyle, and there's only one solution, diet and lifestyle. Western medicine, the body they split it up into 1,000 parts. Okay, இது வந்து cancer, இது வந்து Alzheimer's, இது வந்து diabetes. But if you look at on the diseases வந்து, it comes down to one disease, which is the gut. You see, how do you say colon? Gut இருக்குல்ல, if the bacteria in the gut are at the right levels, you don't have any disease. இப்போ வந்து உங்களுக்கு வந்து 10 trillion cells இருக்கு. I don't know how many zeros there are. 10 trillion. 10 times 10 to the power of 12 cells. But for every cell, 100 microorganisms, okay? So each one of us is a walking jungle. 10 trillion cells, but 1,000 trillion microorganisms. So நம்ம சித்தர்ஸ் அவங்க whole philosophy வந்து அந்த microorganism balance இருக்கணும். அதான், that's the one disease. So when that is off balance, you get Alzheimer's, you get these different diseases. Western medicine likes to have 1,000 diseases because they can sell you 1,000 medicines. And they can make $1,000 billion, okay? So from my party, the question is, with cytosol, we can show that these diseases are interconnected to the same thing, then we're making a contribution. அதான் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம்.
இந்த பாஸ்வேர்ட் ஹேக்கிங்கிறது ஒரு பெரிய விஷயமா இருக்கு பாருங்க. இமெயில் பாஸ்வேர்ட் விஷயம். In future ஃபிங்கர் பிரிண்ட், ஐபாப் அந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது அதுல மாற்றம் வர வாய்ப்பு இருக்கு.
ஆமா, there is. I just met someone one of the things they're doing is voice.
Yes.
Okay? One thing that they're doing is that you'll just talk to your computer and you don't need the passwords. So the future will be probably voice and probably some idea fingerprint. But the passwords after a certain point becomes very, very difficult. Good point.
Thank you.
One more question? One last question.
Last year, அமெரிக்கா வந்து எல்லா மெயிலையும் வந்து வாட்ச் பண்ணாங்க அப்படின்றது இல்லையா?
ஆமா.
அது மற்றபடி எல்லாரோட பாஸ்வேர்ட் எடுக்க முடியுமா?
America, ஆமா, of course. America can do anything it wants. See, the problem is, what came out with the Snowden thing was that all of our emails are being watched. Look, once you go electronic, everything is potentially compromised. Everything. So it on the one hand, nariya freedom irukku, but we're also giving away nariya freedom. But the point is, if you want to get into the politics of it, the politics really should be, if we're truly a democratic world, if there's true democracy, we should all have access to understand what is actually going on. But right now, we don't really have a democracy. Few people control all the information, and they have right to it.
What is your next invention, sir?
The main thing that we're working on is CytoSolve. Cyto, C-Y-T-O-S-O-L-V-E. As I said, CytoSolve is a breakthrough. It's on the computer, we can model disease and molecular pathways. So what we're doing is, for example, you take cancer. There is probably all throughout the scientific literature little pieces of knowledge written about what causes cancer. We're finding that knowledge and the molecular pathways, we're modeling it on the computer. Using that model, we can discover medicines that work faster and cheaper, and things that don't cause toxicity. CytoSolve is the next big thing we're working on, and also systems health. Sherry, ரொம்ப நன்றி, thank you.